So today we have Tyler Kyser. She's a community activist. Isn't that a good? I took that picture. It is. Isn't that a great picture? Well, because they took them from. We both look tall in that picture. Okay, so it's Tyler Kyser, and she is the Oakland program director for Causa Just Cause, and she'll tell you about it. It is a community to help the underserved. Did I pronounce it right? Yeah. Okay, and then she's the former policy director for Coalition for the Homeless in San Francisco. So she's going to come talk, and what's really cool is that Tyler brought two of her colleagues here. So here's Tyler. So and so, yep. So Tracy Mixon, she used to be homeless, and now she's actually working for the Coalition for the Homeless in San Francisco, and the same with Lakeitha Pierce. And shh, okay, am I gonna have to be like Honey? Okay, so they're gonna be sharing their stories with you so you really understand what led to their homelessness and maybe understand how you can help them. Okay, so actually, remember when people were talking last week and Hani kind of got a little bit unhappy? Well, he and I were talking, and he was talking like in a previous class when someone wouldn't stop talking. He walked up to them and said, "Hey, do you have a phone?" And the student's like, yeah. And he goes, "Pull out your phone." So the student pulls out the phone, and Hani said to him, "Can you call your mom and ask her to come pick you up?" Okay, does anyone want me to do that today? So, oh, by the way, did you notice what is on the slide? At the top? They have to take a picture with the attendance slide to show they were here. Nobody read my slide. Okay, are you all set with the attendance slide? Let's get started. So, this is Tyler.
Check. Hey, what's up, y'all? What's today, Tuesday? Happy Tuesday. All right, so how we're going to do today, it's the end of the day, but I need y'all to be a little interactive with us. I don't want to just talk at y'all. That is boring. Y'all want to take the little clicker? I don't have enough hands for it. Yeah, you just press the button.
All right, just tell me when to click. Should I click?
Yeah, do a little. Oh, okay.
And then you can click backwards. Okay.
Wow, technology.
Yeah, I'm not good with it. Okay.
All right, y'all. Hey, again. Hey. We're gonna be a little interactive today, so I need y'all to wake up. We're gonna be asking questions. Before we get started, I want to see some hands. Who here is from the Bay? Raise your hand. Hey, represent. All right, who's from the Midwest? Oh, let's go. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Ohio. Yeah, well. All right, who's from the South? Oh. In the back, represent. What's the other places? East Coast? All right. PNW? Oh, well. Pacific Northwest. All right. Did I miss a place? Norway? A period. All right. I just want to see some representation in here. So I'm Tyler. I used to be the policy director at the Coalition on Homelessness in San Francisco. I am the program director now at an organization called Causa Justa, Just Cause, based out of Oakland. I live in Oakland, so I'm real close to y'all. Yeah. And then I have Tracy and Lakitha with me, and we'll do some introductions on them shortly. Hit the slide. Oh, baby, I want to be here. Go Bears. We'll see. We will see. All right, next slide. Oh, that's me. Keep going. Also, I use they, them pronouns, but she, her is like very fine with me. And why don't we go to Lakitha? I can hold this.
Hello, my name is Lakitha. I am born and raised in San Francisco. I have 3 sons, and I am the human rights organizer at the Coalition on Homelessness. I've been working there for about a year now. I'm kind of new to the whole learning about policy and stuff. I'm more of I have lived experience, so that's my that's what I have to give to the whole thing. But yeah, and that's just about it. Okay, we at who we are, right? Okay.
Oh, wait.
All right. Wait a minute, hold on. Yeah. We went there. Now we're there. There.
There we go. There you go.
All right. That's me, and I'm at the Coalition's office. My name is Tracy Mixon. I'm a formerly homeless mom. I started working at the Coalition when I was homeless, so that was a different experience, learning about policy and learning about how the homeless system works, especially for families in San Francisco. So there's a lot more to my story, but I just want to go ahead and get us started.
Yeah, who here has heard about the Coalition on Homelessness? Womp womp. Okay. No worries. Let's talk about who we are. We are a group of community activists, formerly unhoused folks, like all of us up here, unhoused folks, and we make up this coalition to do what? Address homelessness. We know that homelessness in San Francisco and in the Bay Area has been a huge issue, but not more recently. It's been an issue since the 70s, before probably most of y'all were born or even thought of. So we founded this newspaper called The Street Sheet after we were established in 1986. It is currently the largest circulating street newspaper in the country. And our organization pays for these newspapers. And we know panhandling, the city of SF can be kind of rude assholes about it, sorry. But we give folks these newspapers to sell, and they keep the entire profit, and we just give these out for free, which is really cool. We're a part of some pretty crucial fights. Ever since our foundation in 1986, we launched the Prop C campaign. You want to talk about Prop C? Just a tiny bit.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, it was originally talked about in 2017 or 18 when they were originally establishing Prop C. And what Prop C does is the corporations in San Francisco, like when we still had Twitter, but now it's Titter now. All of those that's what he's calling it now. Okay, I read the news. All of these corporations, basically, so many employees that they have to have, and so many millions of dollars that are made by them. We get that tax money, and that tax money is supposed to go to help fight back against homelessness, to make sure people are housed, to make sure people have the services that they need. When I started the Coalition on Homelessness, which was, 2018, I came in on a political campaign, and I have no political experience at all, and I still claim to have none, but it was an exciting time because I had never been a part of something like that, and to know that it actually won, And knowing that the mayor did not want it and the will of the people of San Francisco made it happen, that was like very, very powerful for me.
Prop C, to make it really short, was a budget campaign and a ballot initiative that the voters of San Francisco voted on to tax corporations, and we would use those funds to address homelessness. And that is encompassing of a lot of things. That's building affordable and safe housing, and not just affordable housing for folks that meet the area median income. That's like actual affordable housing for low income San Francisco residents. And then it also contributed to job programs, nonprofits, not ours though, that give services to folks, and then trying to exit people from homelessness so we can get our count down to 0. It's not working, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Something really unique about the Coalition on Homelessness and that I appreciate is a lot of nonprofits get folks that don't have a lot of buy-in into the community. At our organization, we really prioritize putting our unhoused neighbors at the forefront of this fight. That means giving unhoused folks opportunities, internships, jobs, which is how a lot of us, not myself, but came on, which is cool. Anything you want to say about the Co? Oh, we are located in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. We are in the thick of it on Turk and Leavenworth. So we are right where we need to be.
So I started at the Co as an intern. Yeah, she did. It was an interesting experience. I had never, I was working as a shelter monitor at the shelter in place hotels. That was my first time working in a homeless setting. And at that time I was actually living in a shelter as well with my kids. And it was just a big kind of shock just to see things on the other side of the fence. Initially, me being a person that lived in a shelter, I didn't understand a lot of the policies and stuff. But then when I began to work for the shelter, I kind of understood it, but then I really didn't though, because a lot of people that work at shelters, they're assholes. And I still felt like that they were, sorry for my language, but I still feel like they are for the most part. But it was a big eye opener because I was able to really help people and really get the other supervisors and stuff to understand where the guests and everything were coming from, because initially they didn't get it at all. And so then when I started working for the Co, then I started learning about the political aspect of everything, and it got even more depressing because it's like, where's the help? Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Last thing I'll say about the Co, our history runs deep. We were established in 1986, and we actually started a couple of other community organizations. So we started Community Housing Partnership, which is now called HomeRise. They are a permanent supportive housing provider. Basically, they house a bunch of formerly unhoused folks. We started WRAP, the Western Regional Advocacy Project, and the Co started where I work now, Causa Justa Just Cause, which is really dope. We can go to the next slide. Oh, also, we do not take government funding, so a lot of organizations are pretty censored in what we can say. We're able to be like really direct with our ask and not attack elected officials, but if it's warranted, like I'll be on Twitter for the Co. Next slide. Okay, the G word. Yeah, how have y'all seen gentrification either here in Berkeley, wherever y'all are from in the Bay, or wherever y'all are from? How have y'all seen gentrification? Raise your hand.
Yeah, where I'm from in Florida, basically it's like a lower income area, and then there's a college in our town, and so it was the most affordable area. So then people kind of started buying houses and renting to college students, and then now it's kind of become unaffordable for those people. So
Yeah. All right, how else have y'all seen gentrification pop up in your communities? I know y'all see it.
or anybody from the Bay, I know you done seen it.
Yeah. I asked y'all to be interactive. Come on. How have y'all seen gentrification in your community?
Well, I'm from San Francisco, so I was growing up when there was like this emerging tech industry in San Francisco, specifically lots of businesses moving down to like the Market Street area and downtown, buying up a lot of those properties, and that drives a lot of rents up in the city.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So we define gentrification as a profit-driven racial and class reconfiguration of urban working class communities of color that have suffered from a history of disinvestment. Should we talk more? Do y'all want to talk more about displacement and gentrification in your community? No. Oh, go ahead.
It's definitely happening, like with Berkeley's place, like I guess like as aspiration to like make more housing and like people's art project as well as like keep the example going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely like
Mm-hmm. How hard is it to find housing as a Berkeley student and being low income? Does anyone want to speak to that? Go ahead.
Can I ask everyone, just stand up so everyone else can hear you?
Hey.
I would say it's very difficult. I'm a transfer student too, first gen background, and I'm lucky because I was able to commute my first semester coming
Mhm.
here. But the apartment I found, it literally flooded. Like it looked like God just sprinklers.
Oh.
And yeah, so it's pretty bad. And then the co-op system, I had to get into that, and that's like 3 weeks to get in there. So for 3 weeks, I was commuting back and forth to my home in Berkeley. And like the campus tries to do stuff, but they'll like, I think they have a program where they'll help you on top of like a week maximum, they'll fund it potentially. But I think especially in like Berkeley being a college town, I mean it's unreasonable. Like your students are in debt and they expect us to pay $1,000 a month just to have basic housing, and a lot of places have mold too, health risk. So quality of living is definitely difficult unless you have big bucks to afford it.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyone else want to speak on this? Yeah.
Yeah, I have like a similar situation. We're actually lying about the number of people that live in our apartment because it's like $700 cheaper to lie that there's less people, which also means that we don't fix anything in our apartment. So
Right.
my friend was laying on her bed like 2 days ago, and then the floor caved in. Like it broke. Like the floor literally broke. Like it just fell in.
Oh my
Like,
God.
what do we do about this? The windows break. Like because like there's no like screws in the windows. They all break and stuff like that. But it's sort of crazy because like we have these really really like not great apartments that are really old and like literally falling apart. Like the floor is literally falling apart, and she's renting it like the next door apartment. She's gonna rent it for $4,000
Mm.
and just 2 bedrooms. An apartment where like the floors are falling apart and all that. So it's sort of crazy. Our downstairs neighbors have mushrooms grow in their bathroom.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's
That's the
terrible.
stuff that I read about.
Yeah, where you stay at?
Right? No, for real.
Damn. Yeah, that's terrible, and I am really sorry you're experiencing that. But like, story of a lot of people's lives, right? Especially here in Berkeley, and especially in San Francisco. I think I'm gonna pass it to Tracy to talk a little bit how she has seen gentrification come up because Tracy is from the Phil Mo.
Well, technically, I'm from what they call Hayes Valley, which is like a bougie area now. That's like not the neighborhood that I grew up in. It's like there used to be a lot of Black-owned business there because I'm probably old enough to be almost everybody up in here, mama. So it's like literally I've seen the changes happen there. I don't live in the Fillmore anymore. Now I live in the Tenderloin. Like our job is in the Tenderloin. Yeah, I really live in the Tenderloin. I really live this life. I don't just talk about it. I am about it. But what I've seen is everybody I grew up with is now down in the Tenderloin because everybody got priced out of the Fillmore because sorry, all these techies moved in, and I have a budding techie in the making, my daughter. So, I ain't mad at it, but at the same token, nothing is being put back and everybody's getting pushed out. It's like literally the African American population in San Francisco has decreased so much. It's like when I do see African Americans like myself, I mainly only see them in the Fillmore, or if I hang out and go to certain areas that are in the Fillmore, if I'm in the Tenderloin. But it's like it's not my home anymore, and it feels so different and so strange. And I looked at all these Black businesses get pushed out, and even now in Hayes Valley, businesses are still changing at a drop of a dime, and it's all because of when COVID happened, who was really going out. So I'm looking at all these changes, and I'm seeing the gentrification, and there's nothing wrong with gentrification because things need to be improved. It's not that I appreciate gentrification, I appreciate improvement. But if you're pushing out the people that make the foundation of this neighborhood, then that's a problem because nobody can afford to live there. By the grace of God, I'm still able to afford to live in San Francisco, but I feel like I'm hanging on by a thread. Yes.
Why do you keep living in San Francisco?
Because that's my home, and I ain't going nowhere till I'm ready. I'm going to retire in Atlanta in a few years with my family. But outside of that, I'm from San Francisco. That's where I was born at. I'm a first generation San Franciscan. Both of my parents, my father came from Arkansas, my mother came from Oklahoma, and they came to San Francisco to make a better life, and they made a life for me, and I'm trying to improve on the life that they helped me start. And I want to improve on San Francisco in the meantime as well.
Period. Y'all are giggly. So we talked a little bit about the tech boom. Before we get into the hella history of gentrification, what, other than the tech industry, have you heard of causes mass gentrification in the Bay? Come on, y'all. Y'all go to Berkeley.
We're going back before our time, even my time. We go back to
Nobody?
the 50s.
Well,
So y'all want
I
some
guess
more
y'all
history?
about to learn. They want some more history.
Some more history is, okay, so you know how they build all these freeways, and this just hasn't happened in Oakland or San Francisco. It's happened all over the United States. And they built all these freeways, and they basically displaced a whole bunch of Black folks. In the 50s, my family was displaced. They lived on Octavia, and my family was displaced. They were forced to move from their home because of eminent domain.
Do y'all know what that is?
I know y'all know what eminent domain is.
I might be wrong because I think they didn't teach us this.
This is a safe space.
Isn't it in the domain like when the government like has yes. They have like jurisdiction, so they'll say we need this land because it's public land, and we need to have like the government project, which like highways, like infrastructure government project. I think they're supposed to compensate, but I'm guessing they don't. I don't know.
There's compensation, but it's not the compensation that is really, really worth what you're taking away from folks. It's like you're taking away from folks that sat up there and built themselves up from nothing and were able to buy their own homes, especially in the African American community back in them days. It was really, really prosperous. Fillmore is the Harlem of the West. If you look up your history, I'm telling you, y'all need to look this shit up because it's real deep. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but sometimes I get excited when I talk about this because this is a part of the history that's a part of my family. And my family was displaced. Like both sides of my family were displaced because of them building that freeway. And it was just so they can make things easier for people to get back and forth, but they didn't care about the lives that they were destroying.
Yeah.
One of the things is they chose to do eminent domain in a Black neighborhood.
Exactly. And that's the heartbreaking part about it because it's like they didn't care about anybody else because I'm sorry, I'm just gonna keep it 100. I'm in a safe space, right? Okay, so I don't want to offend anybody, but if it was a Caucasian, a white community, that would have never happened. But because we were really, really low on the totem pole, that's exactly why that happened. And folks really didn't know how to fight back against that. They couldn't try and pull that now because we pulling together and trying to fight back against it. And I know y'all would help fight back against it too, because y'all are young and you have broader minds to see the injustices that are happening. These are things that conversations that I did not start having until I was this many years old.
So just to talk a little bit more about gentrification, I think we have seen the largest impact of gentrification after the tech boom, right? We drive in these major industries into San Francisco and a little bit outside of San Francisco, and what happens? These landlords, these corporate landlords or these private landlords are like, oh, we got people coming in now, they're making $220 starting, getting little bonuses. We're gonna charge them $5,000 in rent. But we're gonna force out the folks that have been planted here and renting here for years. So for example, you might have an older Black woman that's living in the Fillmore in San Francisco. She might be staying in her apartment and it might need much needed repairs. Before any tenant protections were put in place, she would just be living in despair and in a really bad apartment. And so what would happen? She would move, the landlord would renovate it, and then upcharge the rent. And where is she gonna go? She's gonna be pushed further and further and further out of San Francisco, with folks starting going to Oakland, going to East Oakland, going to deep East Oakland, and then going out to San Leandro and further and further and further away from her home. And we see that often, and the history of that runs deep, and there's just so much that our community can do to address it by educating themselves on where these issues start, but it starts in settings like this where we're talking to you and we're able to be open and honest about the sins of San Francisco. So I just want to hit on that. What is being homeless like in San Francisco? In this next slide, there's going to be a bunch of numbers. These, I think, are from 2020, so they're not the updated numbers. We keep saying we're going to get them, Gigi, but I don't know where they are. But Tracy is going to talk a little bit about what it looks like to be on the streets, how to get services, and how to get housing, and how it's this never-ending perpetual cycle.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna come over here by the computer so I can actually, so I can actually see exactly where we're at. So, as you can see, we're talking about the shelter wait list, and this shelter wait list, is this all like TAY, families, and youth? Okay, so this would consist of youth, families, and single adults. And so it's 1,000+ people daily. And with this, the average wait time is 6 to 8 weeks. But the thing, okay, and this is just to get in the shelter, but see, here's the thing. There used to be adults.
Where it takes 6 to 8 weeks?
This is what
I complain about these. I don't know what that.
okay. But see, the thing for like trying to get into a shelter for an adult is literally there's no shelter wait list. When COVID happened, they shut down the shelter wait list. It's like literally you used to be able to call 311 and be like, hey, I need a shelter. And then, you know, within a few days, you'd be able to get a shelter. It wasn't all this 6 to 8 week stuff. But when COVID happened, that's what changed everything. For families, there are different hoops that families have to jump through. So let me take that back a little bit. We have these things called access points. And access points are where you go get an assessment so they can tell you exactly how homeless you are. And really, that's what it is. They tell you exactly how homeless you are. They have this criteria where, like, if you've been homeless like 7 years or longer, yeah, you like chronically homeless. And I'm sorry, if you don't have a home for one night, you homeless. I don't care what they're talking about, but that's like the federal government standards. Now, along with this, we're going to talk about the racial disparity. Now, I know y'all probably heard, like, you know, it's only X amount of Black people in the United States, but we the most in jail. And that goes along with the most homeless as well. And even in San Francisco, we're 3% of the population. When I was growing up, it was a whole lot more of us. But 37% of the homeless population is African American. Also, along with that, we got to talk about the gender, because I know a whole bunch of trans folks that are homeless. And it goes because of the lifestyle that they're living, families are not accepting of that, so they end up having to figure out what they got to do. So we're looking at all of this. We're looking at the genders: male 59%, females 35%, 4% is transgender, and 1% is genderqueer, non-binary. So there's a lot of information up here. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but you guys can see that. So this is what the homeless population count was from 2015 to 2019. We have to update this and get the correct information. So I hope the next time we'll have more updated information.
What to do if you're looking for housing?
Okay, so I'll get back to the access points. Wait a minute. Actually, can you talk about that? Because I want to make sure this is not Malia.
Yeah, I can do it. Okay, y'all. So let's say I am unhoused. I've been living on the streets of San Francisco for a year. And I'm like, I'm really tired of this. I got my money up. I think I want to try to get into some housing. What do I do? Well, what do you do? One, we see the shelter wait list is so long. You can't just walk into a shelter unless it's private and be like, I need a bed, I'm unhoused, because story of everyone's life. It is a story of not having enough resources, but also having the money to actually house folks. So that causes a lot of people to just be in this perpetual cycle of homelessness, and it's really unclear how to even access services in the city. And so maybe I'll give it to Lakeitha to talk a little bit about this assessment called coordinated entry.
It's a horrible experience. It's you go basically coordinated entry is for you to be put on the wait list to be put in that shelter. So you go and meet someone that you've never, someone you never met before, and you have to tell them like your whole life story. Tell them all the intimate details of whatever that you're going through that caused you to be going through this homelessness. Most of the time, you got to tell this story multiple times to multiple people because your file can get lost and people leave and just all kind of stuff. But eventually you will hopefully get placed into a shelter somewhere if that shelter would be adequate for you. I went through the coordinated entry and I was on the wait list for about 8 months. And this was the first time I ever experienced it, and this was way back in 2002. And it was a whole 8 months for me to even be placed into a shelter, which it wasn't. Honestly, at that time, it was a pretty good shelter. It was a nice shelter. It was good people I met in there and everything, so it was worth it. But
What did you do in those 8 months?
in those 8 months, honestly, I kind of forgot that I was even on this wait list, but I was stuck, just it was up to me. I had to go pay for hotels. I had to go to family members' houses and just, pretty much couch surfing until these people just popped up and called me out the blue. But honestly, multiple times they would, you wouldn't even hear from anybody. So you would have to call and check in with them and make sure that they know that you're still alive and you're still trying to get housing or whatever. But it's not really like they can never give you an answer. They can never give you a direct answer about, how long it would be or where you might be placed. It's just always you got to throw your hands up and wait and see. And it's really discouraging. But I think like the first time I went through it, it was really stressful. It was really discouraging. I didn't understand it. But when I went through it a second time after I got moved all the way out to Sacramento and experienced homelessness again, so I had to come back to my hometown, I went through it all in a different way. I dealt with everybody in a different way. I knew the ins and outs of everything. I knew who I had to talk to. I knew the different phrases that I had to use because because they tend to act like they don't know what you're talking about when you're saying what you need. When you can say what you need, and they won't. I don't know. It seems like they don't really care. They don't really connect with. They don't really connect with you. So when I was. Hmm?
Let's save that and talk about coordinated entry more. And then we'll give Lakita and Tracy some space to talk a little bit about their lived experience, and y'all will have the opportunity to ask questions as well.
Can I just say one more thing about coordinated entry? What I discovered was if you're not completely honest about your situation, then you won't get the help that you need. For me, when I first became homeless, it was like that was like the most crushing blow in my life. And so it was like I knew I had to answer these questions, but for me, they were very, very invasive questions. Like, don't ask me if I had to use my body in order to keep a roof over my head. I'm like, how dare you ask me something like that? The answer is no, but that's still not the point. And these are the kinds of things that they ask you, and there's no rhyme or reason. They don't explain to you exactly why they're asking you these questions. I'm gonna go back to what I said before. They're trying to determine exactly how homeless you are. So you go through this assessment and you end up on two different tracks. It's either you're gonna be placed in a shelter or they're gonna help you get housing. Now, along with that, for families, you might get a subsidy, and the subsidy might last for a year to 18 months. And then if you ain't got your money together, if you ain't got your money up, by the time that subsidy is over, guess what? You're gonna be back on the same road again, going back to coordinated entry. I'm homeless again. I don't know what to do. And they're gonna tell you, oh, go to we'll let you know when there's a shelter available. They're not worried about where you sleeping at night. They really don't care where you sleep at night. When they sat up there and told me they'd rather me live in a drug house than than try and help me get a shelter or something like that, I'm like, okay, I don't know how y'all think that's safe, but whatever. Whatever. But that's really what you go through with coordinated entry. It's not an easy thing to go through, but right now, one of our other coworkers, myself and Lakita's other coworker, she is working on helping to make changes to coordinated entry so you're not asked these invasive questions. So you know exactly why you're answering these questions. You know exactly what the track you're gonna be on after going through all this, because that's the thing. You don't have, in the beginning of this, you didn't have any answers. You just had to wait until they called you. I used to go down there every day, so y'all ain't got nothing to tell me? I don't have a shelter, I ain't got a spot, I ain't got a subsidy, I need something because I can't keep couch surfing. And I was living with strangers. I didn't know none of the people I was living with. God had my back because I didn't know them people I was living with. I just had to hope and wish and pray that me and my daughter would stay safe every single night.
So what y'all are hearing is in coordinated entry, you have to take this assessment. They score you. They determine how homeless you are, if you're going to get a shelter, if you're going to get a subsidy, or if they're not going to be able to help you. Or permanent supportive housing, like HomeRise provides. Now, what is the problem with that cycle? Anyone? Yeah. That part. It's a perpetual cycle of trauma. How do you score someone on how homeless they are? If you're homeless, you need a home, and it's your basic human right. We come into contact with folks all the time that have been living on the streets, waiting for a chance to exit homelessness for years. And we especially come across a lot of seniors that are living on the streets that still have not been given a home, and that is problematic. With a city as rich as San Francisco, how do we allow for people to be disenfranchised, displaced, and literally put on their ass and get no help? So that's a little bit about coordinated entry and the process. You want to talk a little bit about this slide, Lakita?
Okay. So the reason why I lost my house initially, I had a son. I had my youngest son, and I was in an abusive relationship, and I had horrible postpartum where I didn't even know what it was at that time. But I had really bad postpartum, went through a lot of mental health issues, and I kind of just let go. And I was evicted out of my public housing for because I was $250 behind on my rent. $250. And it was like they didn't even want to take it once I did try to give it to them. So it was a really traumatizing experience. I felt like that, I needed a change anyways and I could just find another place, but that was not the case. I was not able to just find a place that fast. I was homeless for like 5 years and going in and out of shelters with me and my sons. But it's many different ways why people lose their housing in San Francisco. 43% of people are unable to pay the rent because rent is like crazy high. Like like she said, for a 2 bedroom could run you $4,000 or $5,000 easily. Family dispute, landlord harassment, which happens often. A family member of mine right now had to leave her place because her house is full of mold and the landlord is refusing to do things about it. Behavioral issues, no fault evictions, domestic violence, and incarceration. People are unable to pay their rent because they lose their jobs. Income is too low. Personal problems, health crisis, household members are unable to pay, and a break in benefits. 69% have disabling health conditions, HIV, long-term mental health, and physical developmental impairments. And 70% of those people were residents of San Francisco prior to being homeless, meaning they were already in San Francisco. They didn't lose their housing and come from somewhere else to be homeless in San Francisco, but they were already living in San Francisco and became homeless because of the high rent and everything. Obstacles to permanent housing, they're very, very high. A lot of people, 63%, can't afford the rent. 37% has no job or no income. 19% no money for moving costs. 18% housing process is way too difficult, and 15% there's just no housing available. There are so many vacant units in San Francisco. Lots of people have summer homes and places that they might just have this unit and they'll let it sit up for a year, 2 years, and no one will even move in it. Some landlords, they will put people out of their places just because they want to raise the rent up high. Like I've seen people like literally burn down their units to push out other people, push out people who have been living there for years and years and years. When in 2019 I just lost my place. The last time I just lost my place, I wasn't evicted. It was a nice house in Pittsburgh. I was pushed out of San Francisco, but I still worked in San Francisco. But my landlord got sick and she had to sell the house and I had to move. And now I'm stuck back in the same situation again. And she just, sold it and, I'm sure got more money and everything for it, but it just put me in another bad space. Intersections of oppression, 66% of Black homeless San Franciscans, me included, have lived in San Francisco for more than a decade. Me, I was born and raised in San Francisco. My mom lives in San Francisco. My father lives in San Francisco. My grandmother, I'm a period. I'm a fourth generation San Franciscan. I've been here my whole life. My kids, everything. Even when I lived in Sacramento, I still came to work in San Francisco. I'm just that much San Francisco. I'm so San Francisco. And I really want my city to, show compassion to everybody that is there, whoever has came there, because the city is so diverse and we just really need to we need more fresh thoughts. We need more fresh ideas and more compassion on how to, deal with everybody and how to make sure everybody got the services that they need. It's so much mental health and everything. And it's really a cycle. It could happen to any of you in here. anything can happen where you could lose your place. And I've seen people lose their place and they're literally in one position and you could see them downtown and the next week or so they totally lost it. Like people lose their kids and then it's just, they start using drugs and then it's just a downward spiral that anybody could get caught up into because of the messed up economy.
What time do we have until Gigi? Cool.
A question for you is, nowhere on the slide is there talking about drug issues? And I think a lot of people think that a lot of them caused by drugs. Can you address that?
Oh, I can talk about that. Do you feel okay about? Okay. Okay. So, one, I want us to be really grounded in this. You see people using drugs on the streets because where else are they doing their drugs? People in homes do drugs and overdose all the time. But the media will say it's all these unhoused folks, the drugs are causing them to be in this perpetual cycle. People are literally trying to survive. Being unhoused in San Francisco is not for the weak at all. And a lot of folks use substances to cope with having to be in this perpetual cycle of trauma and abuse and not having their basic needs met. So I think that's something that's been perpetuated by both sides of the media, both conservative and progressive. And we need to invest more in harm reduction and educating folks before we transition folks into treatment, is my sentiment, at least. I think folks might have other opinions, but yeah. And just homelessness is just a perpetual cycle. We all up here have experienced homelessness. I used to live in Piedmont. Anyone know where Piedmont is? Gentrified ass area. It should not exist. But I lived in Piedmont with my mom. We had moved from Cleveland, Ohio, and my mom ended up losing her job. She just moved here to Oakland, to Piedmont, and my mom missed 1 month of rent. And we were forced out of our apartment in Piedmont. I never thought as a little kid that I would live in a car. I thought it was a game, kind of fun. But this is a perpetual cycle that a lot of kids, which we don't talk about children in homelessness enough, experience all the time and live with. And a lot of people experience homelessness and you might not even know. Some of your classmates, your coworkers, and maybe honestly some of your former teachers. I think now we're gonna run into Lakeitha and Tracy talking about their lived experience of homelessness, and y'all will have a little bit of time to give some Q&A. Okay? Lakeitha, you're up.
Okay, this picture here is from when I lived in Sacramento. After our first bout of experiencing homelessness, this is my youngest son, Irvin. He is 12 now. That we had to move all the way to Sacramento to get housing once I lost my place in San Francisco the first time behind the $250. I was happy to move to Sacramento because I had been homeless, like I said, for 5 years. Being in the shelter in San Francisco was the worst experience I've had, other than childbirth without no medication. It was so painful. I never wanted to work in homelessness. This is not nothing I want to do. I wanted so bad to forget that and never ever think about it no more again in my life. But it just kept falling in my lap, and I feel like this is something I'm supposed to be doing. But me and my kids in the shelter system, we've experienced staff members sabotaging us. We used to have to call into the shelter to get a bed like it was a radio station. Like now when you call KMEL to try to get tickets, you call over and over again, like so, and the line is busy, and then you're happy when they finally answer the phone, and you say, hey, I have a family of such and such, can I get a bed? And they'll tell you if you can, they tell you if you can't. Once we did that, and we were doing that for a 60-day bed, and the lady, she refused to give us the bed. All in all, the lady, for whatever reason, she denied us the beds. Not for no real reason though, but she ended up getting suspended from the job because she basically was playing games with our life. Like she was playing games over the phone and everything, and made it to where we weren't able to get the beds that we were supposed to get. Me and my 3 kids and my son's father, and we were devastated. We had to talk. We tried to talk to all the different agencies in San Francisco to try to get people to listen to us. And it was like, we felt like we were going crazy because we were like, how could these people in this position try to do something like this to us? But it happens. We've had our belongings stolen, not by the other shelter clients, but by the staff. Things that we thought we were going somewhere to be protected and safe. We weren't. It was so bad to the point to where we left the shelter, and I said, I refuse to go back into this shelter. I'd rather go and surf and live on people's couches. And that's what we did. That was my experience. And then when we were able to move to that's why I took the place in Sacramento, even knowing that it was in a place that was way far away and I didn't know anybody there, but it was that bad. We just needed somewhere to go. And it was okay for a few years, but there's no I don't know how anybody lives out there in Sacramento. It's really no man's land. But sorry. I call it Whack-ramento. That's I'm sorry. Sacramento, I don't have only thing about it is good is 4th of July and Walmart. Yeah, they got all the Walmarts. And Winco.
We don't support Walmart, but the one in San Leandro is very...
I'm sorry. Yes, San Leandro Walmart. Huh? Okay. Well, yes, so that is my experience in homelessness.
Okay. I didn't see the sign back there. There's a clock. Okay, so I'm gonna make this really, really brief. So, like I said, I'm a whole lot older than everybody up in here. And my first experience with homelessness was when I was 5 years old. My parents split up, and so my mother couldn't afford the rent, so we had to move in with her sister. Yeah, I had a roof over my head, but if you don't have a lease in your name, technically you're homeless. And I didn't understand this until I was 30-something years old, because I didn't have a lease in my name for a long time. Literally, I didn't have a lease in my name until my mother was dying and my daughter was a kid. So I had to quit my job to take care of my dying mother. And after she died, it was that became a cycle for me, because that was something hard. That's my daughter. She was 8 then. She's almost 13, and she's almost as tall as I am. And she plans on coming to UC Berkeley to come do a tour because she wants to be a software engineer. But me going through homelessness, with her, that was the hardest thing, because I never thought I would be homeless with my kid. And so I ended up in a shelter called First Friendship. And I'm gonna tell you what First Friendship was, and it doesn't exist anymore. And I helped with that. So that's a whole nother story. Look up the Oasis Family Shelter in San Francisco, and that's the emergency family shelter that's actually a hotel, because First Friendship, you used to have to sleep on mats on the floor. You were maybe the distance of this desk right here. That's how far apart you were between families. Oh, God. Sorry, my boyfriend's a bugaboo right now. But I did this for maybe a month or two, and me and my daughter stayed sick a lot of the times. And then we finally ended up in a shelter where we had our own room. This shelter was called Raphael House. I hated every minute there. No, if I had to be in at 6 o'clock and I'm grown, nah, that was a problem. I don't want to be in at 6 o'clock because I had things to do after 6, because I worked until 5, so I still had things to do. I still had a life to have before I'd go there. But for me, that was the worst experience, because I didn't receive the help that I needed. All I wanted to do was have a home for me and my daughter, And I kept getting told that I was either gonna have to leave San Francisco or I'd have to live in a little bitty SR room with no bathroom with me and my kid. And that was unacceptable for me. During the course of all this, I started working at the Coalition on Homelessness. And that's what helped me learn how to maneuver, how to get through coordinated entry, get through the system of shelters, understand how to manipulate and work my way into getting housed. And so now I live in permanent supportive housing. Not my first choice, because I really want a real apartment, because there are rules and regulations to that too. So what you were saying about a cycle, this is still a cycle too. And I'm trying to get off this ride because I don't like it anymore. For real. So that's my story with homelessness. Yes.
Tell that one situation when your daughter was sick and couldn't go to school.
Oh, no. Okay, so when we were in First Friendship, they wake you up at 6 in the morning. And you got to get up and get ready, and they give you breakfast in the morning, and then you got to be out of there by 7. So I get out of there by 7. This one particular weekend, my daughter was sick, throwing up. And the only place there was for us to go was a drop-in women's shelter where there were unhoused women, and that was not a place for my child to be at. And there was nowhere for my daughter to be at being sick. And as a mother, I'm not gonna lie, I felt horrible, because I'm like, my mother would never do this to me. But that's why I made a change, and I realized, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry, boyfriend, sorry. But that's what made me realize that I was never going to be homeless again. And I'm not never gonna say never, but I made my daughter a promise. I'm like, I'm not never gonna send you through this again, because I mean, that hurt. She was sick. She had to get in she left the shelter in the ambulance, throwing up all over the place. I'm mopping up, throw up, and they call in the ambulance. And that was my daughter's first ride in the ambulance outside of me being pregnant with her. And that hurt because the next day, there was no place for her to lay down at. She just had to sit up in a chair with her head on my lap, and that still hurts me even now. But now I'm housed, and now I'm fighting still to make sure that there's more housing, not only for families, but for single adults, for folks that are y'all age, because there are a lot of unhoused folks that are you guys' age, you know what I'm saying, under the age of 21 and all that, and they're still unhoused, and I'm fighting for them too, because I know collectively there's more San Francisco can do. There's more this entire Bay Area can do. There's more that this entire country can do, because it doesn't just affect San Francisco. It doesn't just affect Berkeley, Oakland. Hell, I saw a whole bunch of homelessness in Portland. I was like, whoa, what the hell? I felt like I was in San Francisco again, because I saw people, they had like shacks like built on the side of the freeway, on the side of 80 up in Portland. I had never seen anything like that. Then when I came back out here, I saw it on the side of 80 in Berkeley, and it's like, nobody should have to live like that. It's
How many empty condos are there in San Francisco?
oh my God, everywhere.
You can house all the unhoused people in the empty condos.
The place that I was evicted from initially, and when I was evicted from in 2012, I've been homeless twice since then. Still right now, today, that place is still empty. It's empty. No one lives there. And I've been homeless and tried to get back. Like, Housing Authority, they said that, hey, that was a wrongful eviction. We should have never did that. They overturned it. So I don't have that eviction on my record, but that unit is still sitting up there empty, and I can't even go back into it.
Well, thanks, y'all. I think we're gonna. You want to speak more?
One last thing.
Yes.
Tracy, tell us about your daughter.
Okay, so my daughter's name is Malia. She's named after Obama's oldest daughter. She's not going to be a screenwriter or anything like that, but she wants to be a software engineer. She's a budding basketball player. Like I said, she's almost as tall as me. She has a 3.87 grade point average, so I'm like super duper proud. And and she's in the 7th grade, going into 8th grade, so I definitely want to keep her on the roll so she can end up somewhere like like here, seriously, I see this for her. It's like, I'm like, I wish I'd have brought her with me. And she's like, why? I'm like, so you can see this because it's dope. So it's like, y'all should be really, really proud of yourselves and make your parents proud and make them rich, because that's what I'm trying to get Malia to do for me. So yeah. Yeah, she know.
All right. Cool. So how to get involved. So the Coalition on Homelessness relies on single donations. Do I need it? Can y'all hear me?
You're not as loud as me.
Oh. Well.
I got loud now.
All right. So, how to help out the co? The co is pretty much self-sustaining. We do not take government funding because that allows for us to be, what's the word I want to use?
We would be able to be
Pugnacious.
regulated by the city and
Oh,
county of
yeah.
San Francisco, and we refuse to have that.
We are not bought out, so we are able to speak freely and fight legislation without worrying about, damn, London Breed might take away our funding, which is she don't like the co. Yeah. If you ever want to work for London Breed, do not come work at the co. So if you go to coSF.org, there is going to be a banner that pops up on the right side of your screen. Feel free to donate. We're doing a spring appeal. Y'all are all college students, so I don't know how many of y'all have bread, but send it to your parents. That goes pretty much directly into Lakeitha and Tracy's salary. Next, if you want to get involved, we love for folks to come and volunteer with us and attend meetings and to be in spaces with our unhoused neighbors. So you want to email our friend Javi at jbraymond@cosf.org, and he'll get you connected and plugged up with all the things to do and how to help the co. Lastly, you can follow us on social media. We're pretty... Okay. Yeah, I said us. I still run the social media sometimes. They're haters. You can follow us on IG. That's our Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, and this will keep you pretty much up to date with any changing policy and legislation that's happening around homelessness in San Francisco. And you can really keep up to date with what Tracy and Lakeitha and other colleagues are doing. We have about 5 minutes left, so I want to open it up for any questions that folks might have about the co, for Tracy, for Lakeitha, for myself. Y'all got 5 minutes. Yes. You. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Honestly, that is a hell of a question. We get some corporate interest. I want to do a quick shout out to Mark Benioff. He actually funded a lot of our work in the past, so shout out Salesforce a little bit for giving us money and giving back to the community. They gave us a lot of fucking money, so. Other questions? Yeah? Safe place. Oh, that is a really good question. How do y'all think engineers can help? One, your pockets, that's number one, funding the work. But I think coming up with infrastructure is really important. So thinking through maybe buildings, where you can put things, some coding stuff to get people into housing faster and organize all the data. I don't know. We can find something for you though. Right, yeah, okay.
What is that, the interview that you do to get the housing?
Coordinated entry?
What?
Coordinated entry?
Yeah, that's all manual now, right?
Yeah. I feel like one, coordinated entry shouldn't exist. You should be able to go into any of these access points, get an iPad, fill out a couple questions that like don't make you relive your trauma, and then your data is organized and it's like 4 minutes, please. ding, 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 you get housing type of shit. Yeah, it's federally mandated, so. But the CO is a part of the fight to shift and change coordinated entry. So maybe the next time I see y'all, we will. I want to get rid of it, but hopefully it'll be better. Yeah.
Access points and government programs the most effective ways to help or see or getting people out from homelessness, or are there certain things that you see working better?
You want to answer that?
I knew that was happening. I don't know. I just felt that. Technically, that's one way. But if we're talking about street homelessness, in San Francisco, we have this thing called the HOT team, which is the homelessness outreach team, and they're supposed to go out and offer shelters and stuff like that. But really, at this point in San Francisco, that's what I know about. There really is no effective way, especially for single adults and young folks, to access shelter or housing. It's even hard for families as well, because one thing about it is everybody's used to seeing the street homelessness, but nobody sees the family homelessness. And the reason why families stay hidden is because they're afraid of losing their kids. I had a chick tell me, I had a dream you lost your child. I had a dream CPS took your child. I was like, chick, you the one that called CPS on me, so I need to leave you alone. And it's like, being homeless is not a reason to lose your child unless you're mistreating your child. But my daughter goes to private school. I never changed. We were homeless, but I didn't change any of the routine. So there really is no true effective way at this point to access shelter and access housing. Like, they have the MOHCD, which is the Mayor's Office of Community Housing and Development. And basically they have this list called SF Dahlia. And you sign up for a lottery and hope you get to the top of the list to get a place. Let's see, I'm about 1,500 on one and 600 on another one. And I'm so far down low on all of these lists. It's like, by the time I actually come up on the list, my daughter is probably gonna be graduating from college, and I'm not gonna need it then because she's gonna buy me a house. But thank you, everybody. It has been our pleasure to be here. So thank you.
So one little closing announcement. I know a lot of y'all are living in some like subpar conditions in your apartment. I work for a tenant advocacy organization. So if you need counseling, like, it's tyler@cjjc.org. Just send me an email and I'll try to connect you with some folks to try to help. So thanks, y'all. You wanna say anything?
Thank you, Tyler. So, just some closing comments is, you guys heard about some of the things that have led to homelessness. You know, some of this last part was, how do you address homelessness? But one of the things we can do is hopefully prevent it. So as you go out there and you vote and you do policies, you figure out what to do with your life.
Contact the councilman.
Yeah.
Contact the people
Yeah.
involved in letters.
Yeah.
And make sure, just show up.
Contact the politicians and vote for the things that prevent homelessness. All right? See you guys next week. Bye.